Abyssal Whispers, the remote lake, hidden beneath a thick shroud of fog, was a place where time seemed to stand still. Its still waters were infamous for their ominous calmness, and tales of mysterious disappearances had echoed through the nearby town for generations. Jack, a seasoned fisherman marked by a past he couldn't forget, stood at the water's edge, casting his line into the inky abyss. The air was heavy with an unsettling silence that clung to the fog. Jack had always been skeptical of the lake's dark reputation. But as he watched his fishing line disappear into the depths, an unease settled over him. Lily, a determined local journalist with an insatiable curiosity, approached cautiously. "Jack," she said, her voice quivering, "I've been researching this lake, the legends, the disappearances. I think there's more to it. Will you help me uncover the truth?" Jack hesitated, his eyes reflecting the torment of his past. Reluctantly, he nodded, and they began their investigation into the lake's dark secrets. Lily's research led them to ancient local legends, tales of a sentient lake that held the memories of all who had met their demise within its depths. These whispers in the town's folklore spoke of a price to be paid for disturbing the peace of the lake, a price that had been exacted upon countless souls. As night descended, they set out on a fishing trip to seek answers, their boat slicing through the water's calm surface. Lily's lantern cast flickering shadows, adding to the eerie ambience. The fog had thickened, creating a claustrophobic atmosphere that seemed to press upon them. They cast their lines and waited in tense silence, the weight of the legends and the unknown pressing down on them. Then, as if in response to their presence, a haunting symphony of ghostly voices emanated from the depths. Words they couldn't understand, filled with sorrow and anger, filled the air. Shadows danced on the water's surface, taking on unnatural forms. Jack's heart pounded, his unease growing. It was as if the lake itself were alive, its depths holding not only water but the tormented souls of those who had vanished. As the voices grew louder, Jack felt a chilling presence wrap around him, a force that tugged at the edges of his sanity. In that moment, he realized the truth. The lake was more than just a body of water. It was a sentient entity, a living entity that bore witness to the countless tragedies that had unfolded within its depths. It had a price, and those who had disappeared had paid it in full. Desperation filled Jack's eyes as he grabbed Lily's arm. "We need to leave, now." They reeled in their lines and powered the boat towards the shore, the voices of the lake growing more insistent, more menacing. The fog seemed to thicken, as if the very air was conspiring against them. Just as they reached the safety of the shore, the lake unleashed a final, chilling whisper, a warning that sent shivers down their spines. Lily and Jack stumbled onto the land, their hearts heavy with the knowledge of the lake's malevolent sentience. Abyssal whispers continued to haunt their thoughts, a testament to the thin veil between reality and myth. The lake held its secrets close, and they knew that venturing further would exact a price too steep to pay. As they left the eerie calmness of the lake behind, they couldn't help but wonder if the darkness they had uncovered was just the beginning of something far more sinister lurking beneath the surface. The lure. The decrepit pier jutted out into the same mysterious lake, swallowed by an ever-present dense fog. The air was thick with an otherworldly silence that wrapped around the old wooden planks, like a shroud of secrets waiting to be uncovered. Emily, a rebellious teenager with a fascination for the lake's legends, stood at the pier's edge, her curiosity drawing her into the foggy abyss. Her older brother, David, watched her with concern, his brows furrowed deeply. "Emily," he warned, his voice tinged with unease, "this place gives me the creeps. We shouldn't be here." Emily's eyes sparkled with defiant determination as she took a step forward. "Don't be such a buzzkill, David. I want to see what's out there." Reluctantly, David followed her, the fog swallowing them both as they ventured further along the creaking boards. The pier seemed to stretch endlessly into the mist, leading them into an unsettling unknown. As they walked deeper into the fog, Emily suddenly stopped, her gaze fixed on a spectral figure in the distance. It was a fisherman, his silhouette outlined against the eerie glow of the moon. He cast his line into the water with a fluid, ghostly motion, his movements unnaturally smooth. Emily's heart raced as she approached him, drawn to the spectral fisherman like a moth to a flame. David tried to pull her back, his voice filled with concern, but Emily ignored him, entranced by the eerie scene. The fisherman turned slowly, his pale face shrouded in shadows. His eyes, cold and empty, met Emily's gaze. Without a word, he extended a skeletal hand, offering her an ancient fishing rod. She took it, unable to resist the lure of the unknown. As Emily cast her line into the water, an unsettling sensation crawled up her spine. The fog seemed to thicken around her, and the lake's surface rippled with unnatural currents. David's frantic pleas fell on deaf ears as Emily continued to fish, her obsession with the spectral angler growing. Suddenly, an unseen force tugged at her line, yanking her forward with a violent jolt. Emily screamed as she teetered on the edge of the pier, her grip on the fishing rod slipping. David lunged forward, grabbing her arm just in time to prevent her from falling into the dark waters below. Panicked and gasping for breath, Emily turned to look at her brother, her eyes wide with terror. "David, something's down there. It tried to pull me in." David's expression hardened as he scanned the murky depths beneath the pier. He could sense a malevolent presence lurking below, something ancient and hungry. "We need to leave, Emily, now." But as they turned to retreat, the spectral fisherman blocked their path. His hollow eyes bore into them, his bony fingers reaching out as if to claim them for the lake. Desperation fueled David as he lunged at the ghostly figure, pushing Emily out of harm's way. They tumbled onto the pier, the ghostly angler disappearing into the fog with an otherworldly wail. With trembling hands, David helped Emily to her feet, and they fled from the pier, leaving the cursed place behind. As they reached the safety of the shore, Emily finally spoke, her voice shaky and filled with dread. "That pier," she said, her eyes filled with regret, "it's cursed. We should have listened to the warnings." David nodded, his concern for his sister outweighing any frustration he felt. "Sometimes, curiosity leads to danger we can't escape. We were lucky to get away." The siblings walked away from the decrepit pier, the fog concealing its secrets once more. In the distance, the lake whispered its ominous tales, a reminder that some mysteries were better left undiscovered. The bond between Emily and David had been tested by the unseen dangers of the lake, but they emerged from the darkness stronger, their shared experience a haunting reminder of the lure that could trap even the bravest souls. Silent depths. The dark, still waters of the lake stretched out before them, a vast expanse cloaked in inky blackness, with only the faintest glimmer of starlight to pierce the void. It was a moonless night, the kind that inspired ghost stories and fueled the darkest of myths. Alan, a skeptical scientist with an unwavering belief in logic and reason, stood at the water's edge, surrounded by a team of researchers and state-of-the-art underwater equipment. They were here to debunk the age-old myths that had plagued the nearby town for centuries, tales of a cursed lake that devoured those who dared to venture into its depths. Nora, a local who had grown up hearing the stories, watched with a mixture of apprehension and determination. She believed in the lake's curse, and she had joined the expedition to prove to the outsiders that the legends were real. As the team descended beneath the surface, their underwater equipment suddenly malfunctioned. Alan's voice crackled over the radio, his frustration evident. "This is just a technical glitch, nothing more." But as they drifted deeper into the silent depths, they encountered something they could not explain. Bizarre, bioluminescent aquatic life surrounded them, their eerie glow casting an otherworldly light. The team's skepticism wavered as they witnessed the extraordinary, nature's defiance of their understanding. Nora, who had been silently watching, spoke up. "You see, this lake is no ordinary place. It's alive with secrets, and it won't yield them easily." Alan shook his head, determined to maintain his scientific objectivity. "These are just unknown species, Nora. Nothing supernatural." As they continued their descent, the lake's mysteries grew more perplexing. They stumbled upon the remnants of an ancient, sunken town, its eerie ruins preserved in the cold, murky waters. The realization that they were treading on the ghosts of the past sent shivers down their spines. Alan's skepticism began to wane as they explored the submerged town. The evidence of a once thriving community, now swallowed by the lake, challenged his scientific convictions. Nora watched him closely, a hint of vindication in her eyes. But as they delved deeper into the sunken town, their underwater lights revealed something even more unsettling. The skeletal remains of those who had lived there lay scattered among the ruins, a grim reminder of the lake's insatiable hunger. Panic set in among the team as they realized they were not alone. A chilling, ethereal moan echoed through the water, sending shockwaves of terror through their hearts. Nora's face turned pale as she whispered, "It's the lake's curse. It knows we're here." Alan, gripped by fear, finally abandoned his skepticism. "We need to leave, now." Frantically, they tried to ascend to the surface, but the lake seemed to conspire against them. Their equipment malfunctioned again, and the water around them grew colder, denser, as if it were determined to keep them in its suffocating embrace. Nora's voice trembled as she spoke into her radio, desperation in her eyes. "The lake won't let us go. We're trapped." As their lights flickered, something brushed against Alan's leg, a cold, clammy touch that sent shivers down his spine. He turned to see a spectral figure, a drowned soul, reaching out with skeletal fingers. The lake had claimed them, just as it had claimed countless others throughout the centuries. A hubris of disbelief had led them to their doom, and now they joined the ranks of the lake's cursed victims. Silent depths had revealed the arrogance of human skepticism in the face of the unknown. The lake's curse was not a mere myth. It was a chilling reality that would haunt the depths for eternity, a reminder that some mysteries were never meant to be unraveled. A fisher's call. The lakeside was shrouded in a thick, unnerving mist that hung heavy in the air. It was here that Helen found solace, a widow seeking refuge from the relentless grip of grief. She had taken up fishing as a way to cope, her silent companionship with the calm waters providing a balm for her aching heart. One foggy morning, as she cast her line into the silent lake, a figure emerged from the mist. It was Tom, a mysterious old fisherman whose presence seemed to materialize out of thin air. He had weathered features and eyes that held secrets too vast to comprehend. "Good day for fishing, isn't it?" Tom spoke with a voice as soft as the breeze that rustled through the mist. Helen nodded, her eyes drawn to the ancient fishing rod he held, its wood weathered and worn. As the days passed, Helen's obsession with the lake deepened, and she found herself spending more time with Tom. He regaled her with unsettling tales about the lake, tales of souls lost to its depths, of a silent, insatiable hunger that dwelled beneath the surface. Helen, her grief blinding her to reality, dismissed Tom's stories as the ramblings of an old man. She found solace in the rhythmic pull of her fishing line and the quietude of the mist-shrouded lake. One evening, as they sat in silence, the fog seemed to thicken, pressing in on them from all sides. Tom's eyes glistened with an eerie light as he whispered, "The lake calls to those who grieve, Helen. It offers comfort, but at a terrible price." Helen's heart quickened as she realized that Tom was no ordinary fisherman. His form shifted and wavered like smoke in the wind, and she saw through him as if he were a specter of the lake itself. With trembling hands, she asked, "Were you, Tom?" He sighed, his voice carrying a note of resignation. "I am but a ghost, like so many others who have succumbed to the lake's lure. Once, I too sought solace in its depths." The realization struck Helen like a lightning bolt. She had been fishing not for fish, but for souls. The lake had enticed her with its eerie calmness, lured her into its grasp, and now she too was a captive. Fear gripped her heart as the lake's depths seemed to come alive. Shadowy figures emerged from the mist, their spectral forms reaching out for her. The lake hungered for her soul, and it would not be denied. Helen turned to Tom, desperation in her eyes. "How do I break free from this curse?" Tom's ghostly visage flickered, and he whispered, "You must cast away your grief and release the souls you've unwittingly trapped." With a newfound determination, Helen let go of her sorrow, releasing it into the mist. The lake roiled and churned, its dark waters thrashing as the trapped souls were set free. They rose from the depths, their forms flickering and dissipating into the fog. As the last soul vanished, the mist began to dissipate, and the lake returned to its eerie calmness. Tom's ghostly figure grew fainter until he, too, disappeared into the ether. Helen was left alone on the lakeside, the weight of her grief lifted but replaced with a deep sense of emptiness. The fisher's call had nearly claimed her, but she had broken free from its grip. In the days that followed, Helen continued to fish, but she no longer sought comfort in the lake's depths. She knew the price that came with the allure of the supernatural, and she would not be lured into its grasp again. The fisher's call had shown her the cost of seeking solace in the wrong places, and she was determined to find her own path to healing, one that did not involve the silent, hungry depths of the lake. Hooked shadows. The lake's shore lay shrouded in darkness, under the eerie glow of a full moon that cast long, distorted shadows across the water. Mark, a thrill-seeking blogger with a penchant for challenging the supernatural, had chosen this night for his latest dare. Sarah, a rational scientist who had always scoffed at legends and myths, had reluctantly agreed to join him. "Mark, this is ridiculous," Sarah said, her voice laced with skepticism as they stood by the lake's edge. "These stories about the lake are just superstitions. There's nothing here to fear." Mark grinned, his excitement palpable. He had a camera set up to live stream their night by the lake. That's exactly what they say before something terrifying happens. Come on, Sarah, where's your sense of adventure? They settled in for the night, Mark's live stream capturing every moment. As the hours passed, Sarah's logical explanations for the eerie sounds in the distance and the shifting shadows on the water began to falter. The lake's legends seemed less like tales told to frighten children and more like a sinister reality. Mark, holding a lantern, ventured closer to the water's edge. You see, Sarah, there's nothing to be afraid of. But just as he spoke, a chilling wind swept over the lake, extinguishing the lantern's flame. Darkness enveloped them, and Sarah's voice trembled as she whispered, Mark, something doesn't feel right. Mark fumbled for his flashlight, his bravado wavering. He scanned the lake, his light revealing nothing but the quiet water. It's just the wind, Sarah. No need to worry. But then, from the depths of the lake, something began to emerge. Shadowy figures, dark as night, rose from the water, their forms shifting and undulating like smoke. Sarah's eyes widened with terror as she watched the menacing creatures advance toward them. Mark's voice quivered as he tried to livestream the chilling encounter. This is unreal. It's like they're made of shadows. Sarah clutched Mark's arm, her voice urgent. We need to go, now. They turned to flee, but the shadowy figures were relentless. The chase was intense, the creatures closing in with every step. Mark's camera captured the heart-pounding moments as they ran for their lives, the lake's legends now a horrifying reality. As they neared the edge of the lake, they realized there was no escape. The shadows encircled them, and Mark's camera feed flickered and died as they were swallowed by the darkness. In the days that followed, their livestream footage went viral. Viewers watched in horror as the camera showed Mark and Sarah's desperate escape attempt, only to cut off abruptly. The lake's legends had claimed 2 more victims, and their disappearance served as a stark warning to those who dared to underestimate the supernatural. The footage left behind was a chilling testament to the danger of challenging the unknown. The hooked shadows had been unleashed, their insatiable hunger for the living forever haunting the lake's shore under the eerie glow of a full moon. The world watched in terror, knowing that some mysteries were not meant to be unraveled, and that the lake held secrets too dark to fathom. Beneath the surface, the deepest part of the lake was known for its unnaturally cold waters, a place where the sunlight never reached, and the darkness pressed in from all sides. It was here that Laura, a professional diver, and Rick, a historian with a personal connection to the lake, embarked on a daring expedition to uncover long-buried artifacts that held the secrets of the past. As they descended into the oppressive darkness, the water grew colder, its weight pressing down on them like a vice. Laura's heartbeat echoed in her ears as she scanned the murky depths, her flashlight cutting through the blackness. Rick clung to her side, his breath coming in quick, shallow gasps. The lake had always been shrouded in myths and legends, tales of lost civilizations and restless spirits. But Laura, driven by her passion for underwater exploration, had dismissed them as mere superstitions. Rick, however, knew better. He had grown up hearing stories from his grandfather, who had warned him about the lake's ancient curse. Their dive took them deeper into the abyss, and they began to discover ancient relics, ceramic shards, stone tools, and fragments of what appeared to be a long-forgotten civilization. The artifacts were a testament to the lake's rich history, a history that had been buried beneath the surface for centuries. But as they continued their exploration, they encountered something that defied explanation. Ghostly figures, pale and translucent, glided through the water, their eyes fixed on Laura and Rick. They seemed to beckon them deeper into the abyss, their voices whispering in a language long forgotten by the living. Laura's grip on her flashlight tightened as she exchanged a nervous glance with Rick. The apparitions were a chilling reminder that the lake held more secrets than they could fathom. As they ventured further into the depths, their surroundings grew increasingly claustrophobic. The walls of an underwater cave closed in around them, and the water became even colder, like an icy grip that refused to let go. Panic set in as they realized they were trapped, their path blocked by fallen rocks. Laura's heart pounded as she searched for an escape route, but the darkness was suffocating, and the weight of the water pressed down on her. In their frantic struggle to break free, Rick's oxygen tank became tangled in the rocks, and he began to suffocate. Laura fought to release him, her own air supply running dangerously low. As the last of her strength faded, they finally managed to disentangle the tank, and they raced for the surface. Gasping for breath, they burst through the water's surface, their bodies trembling with fear and exhaustion. They had narrowly escaped the underwater cave, but the ghostly figures still haunted their thoughts. As they floated on the surface, Laura and Rick exchanged a solemn glance. The lake's legends had proven to be more than mere stories, and the weight of history they had uncovered now pressed down on them like a burden too heavy to bear. Their expedition had revealed the danger of disturbing what should have been left alone. The thin line between bravery and folly. The lake's mysteries remained unsolved, its secrets guarded by the darkness that lurked beneath the surface, a darkness that had nearly claimed them both. Beneath the surface, the deepest part of the lake held its secrets close, and Laura and Rick were left to ponder the chilling encounters that had changed their lives forever, a reminder that some mysteries were never meant to be uncovered. Echoes in the mist. The lake's surrounding woods were shrouded in a thick, swirling mist that seemed to blur the line between reality and illusion. It was here that Carla, a talented photographer known for capturing natural phenomena, had come in search of her next masterpiece. By her side was Evan, a local guide with a tragic past that haunted him like a ghost in the night. As they ventured deeper into the mist-shrouded woods, Carla's camera clicked and whirred, capturing the eerie beauty of their surroundings. She reveled in the dreamlike atmosphere, finding inspiration in the way the mist clung to the trees like ghostly fingers. But as she reviewed her photographs, she noticed something inexplicable. Faces, distorted and blurred, seemed to materialize in the mist, their expressions filled with sorrow and longing. She showed Evan, her voice quivering with unease. "Evan, do you see these faces? What could they be?" Evan's eyes darkened with memories he had long tried to forget. "They're echoes of the past, Carla. This place holds a tragic history, and the mist remembers." As they continued their journey, Evan's past came back to haunt him in the form of ghostly visions. He saw his younger self, standing by the lake's edge, a look of despair etched on his face. He watched as the past unfolded before him, reliving the tragedy that had haunted him for years. Carla tried to comfort Evan, her concern for him growing with each passing vision. "Evan, we can leave. We don't have to go any further." But Evan was determined to confront his past, to unravel the mysteries of the lake that had haunted him for so long. He urged Carla to continue, even as the mist seemed to thicken around them, enveloping them in a disorienting haze. As they pressed on, they found themselves in a surreal world, a mist-shrouded otherworld that mirrored their own fears and regrets. The faces in the mist became more pronounced, their sorrowful expressions a reflection of the pain they carried within. Carla's camera continued to capture the haunting images, each photograph a window into the past. She realized that the mist held the memories of those who had suffered by the lake, their stories etched into the very fabric of the woods. Evan's visions grew more vivid, and he was forced to relive the tragic accident that had claimed the life of his younger brother. The guilt and grief that had plagued him for years overwhelmed him once more, and he cried out in anguish. Carla, her heart aching for Evan, reached out to him. "Evan, you can't change the past. You have to forgive yourself." Evan nodded, tears streaming down his face, and together they confronted the mist-shrouded apparitions, facing their fears head-on. The faces in the mist began to fade, their expressions softening as if finding release from their torment. As the mist lifted, Carla and Evan found themselves back in the real world, the lake's surroundings no longer distorted by the ghostly visions. They had confronted their pasts, and in doing so, they had set free the echoes that had haunted them. Carla looked at Evan, her eyes filled with compassion. "It's over, Evan. We can move on now." Evan nodded, a weight lifted from his shoulders. They had journeyed through the mist, faced the echoes of their past, and emerged on the other side, changed but stronger for it. Echoes in the mist had shown them the power of memories, the blurred line between reality and illusion, and the importance of facing one's fears. As they left the mist-shrouded woods behind, they carried with them a bittersweet resolution, a sense of closure that had long eluded them. The Unseen Angler. The old, abandoned boathouse stood in eerie silence on the edge of the lake, its time-worn planks creaking in the gentle breeze. Derek, a young man on the run, had stumbled upon the decaying structure while seeking refuge from his pursuers. As he cautiously entered the boathouse, he had no idea that he was about to unlock the secrets of the past. Inside the dimly lit boathouse, Derek's flashlight revealed a scene frozen in time. Dusty fishing gear and rusty rods leaned against the walls, while tattered nets hung from the ceiling. Derek's footsteps echoed in the empty space, a stark contrast to the lonely stillness that enveloped the place. But Derek soon realized he was not alone. A voice, faint and mournful, whispered in his ear, "Help me." Startled, Derek swung around, shining his flashlight into the shadows. There, in a corner, he saw her, a translucent figure with long, flowing hair and eyes that held an otherworldly sadness. She reached out to him, her hand trembling as if trying to bridge the gap between their worlds. Derek's heart raced as he stammered, Who are you?" The spirit's voice quivered as she replied, "I am Maya. I have been bound to this place by a curse for centuries." As Derek listened, Maya shared her tragic tale. She had been a young woman in love, her heart entwined with a fisherman who had promised her eternity. But their love had incurred the wrath of the lake's guardian spirit, a vengeful entity that had cursed them both. Maya's lover had been swallowed by the depths, while she had been condemned to wander the boathouse, unseen by the living. Derek, moved by Maya's story, vowed to help her. He began researching the lake's legends, determined to find a way to break the curse that bound her. Each day, he returned to the boathouse, seeking to communicate with Maya and understand the mysteries of the past. Maya, in turn, revealed herself more clearly to Derek, her translucent form becoming more substantial with each passing day. She longed to touch the living world once more, to feel the warmth of the sun on her skin and the embrace of a loved one. Derek's empathy grew, and he became determined to break the curse and set Maya free. He uncovered a ritual that involved offering a heartfelt apology to the guardian spirit of the lake, acknowledging the love between Maya and her fisherman, and promising to honor their memory. Together, Derek and Maya embarked on the ritual, standing by the lake's edge as they spoke the words that would determine their fate. The guardian spirit, a colossal shadow that rose from the depths, loomed over them, its eyes filled with ancient fury. But Derek's sincerity and Maya's yearning for freedom touched the guardian spirit's heart. With a solemn nod, the guardian spirit accepted their apology and released Maya from the curse that had bound her for centuries. As the first light of dawn broke over the lake, Maya's form solidified, and she stood before Derek, her eyes filled with gratitude. She reached out and touched his cheek, her touch warm and real. With a smile, Maya whispered, "Thank you, Derek." But even as she stepped into the light, Derek realized that her presence in the living world was ephemeral. Maya's time had passed, and she had been granted a brief moment of respite before her spirit would finally find peace. As the sun rose higher, Maya's form began to fade, and she gave Derek a sad, knowing look. "Remember me," she said, her voice filled with both hope and resignation. Derek nodded, tears in his eyes, as he watched Maya vanish into the morning light. The boathouse, once haunted by her presence, now stood empty and silent. The unseen angler had taught Derek the power of empathy, the loneliness of spirits, and the importance of breaking free from the past. As he walked away from the abandoned boathouse, he carried Maya's memory with him, a haunting yet hopeful reminder of the mysteries of the world beyond. The anguish of the lake. The entire expanse of the lake lay turbulent and unpredictable as a severe storm raged with a furious might. The wind howled, and waves crashed against the shore like an ancient beast in the throes of rage. The lake, once serene, now roared with an unholy fury that defied explanation. Nina, a local shaman deeply connected to the land, had sensed the storm's unnatural behavior and sought to understand its cause. She was a woman of spiritual insights, attuned to the ancient forces that governed the world around her. Beside her was Greg, a skeptical meteorologist armed with scientific instruments and a desire to unravel the storm's mysteries. As they stood on the shore, Nina began her rituals, her chants and offerings aimed at communicating with the lake's consciousness. Greg watched with a raised eyebrow, his instruments registering the storm's fury but failing to provide a clear explanation. "Are you telling me that the lake itself is causing this storm?" Greg asked, skepticism dripping from his voice. Nina nodded, her eyes focused on the churning waters. "The lake has a spirit, Greg, and it is in anguish. It is crying out, and we must understand why." Greg shook his head, unwilling to accept such an explanation. "This is just a severe weather pattern, Nina. There's nothing mystical about it." But as the storm raged on, its wrath intensifying, even Greg began to question the scientific basis of the phenomenon. The storm seemed to defy all known meteorological patterns, its epicenter a chaotic swirl of energy that refused to dissipate. As night fell, Nina's rituals led them to a revelation. She explained that the lake's consciousness had been disturbed by human actions, pollution, overfishing, and disregard for the natural world. The lake's ancient spirit, once in harmony with the land, was now in turmoil. Greg's scientific analysis clashed with Nina's spiritual insights. But as the storm grew more furious, he was willing to consider the possibility that something beyond the realm of science was at play. Together, they ventured out into the heart of the storm, the winds lashing at them with a fury that seemed to echo the lake's anguish. They reached the epicenter, a maelstrom of swirling clouds and lightning, and there they encountered a presence unlike any they had ever felt. Nina raised her arms, calling upon the spirits of the land to guide them. Greg, his skepticism fading, watched in awe as the storm seemed to respond to Nina's commands. It began to calm, the wind whispering with a gentler voice, and the waves no longer crashed with unrestrained fury. In the center of the storm, they found an island, a hidden sanctuary within the lake. It was there that they discovered the lake's heart, a pulsating core of energy that radiated with an ancient power. Nina and Greg realized that to appease the lake's anguish, they needed to heal its wounded spirit. Together, they performed a ritual that combined Nina's shamanic practices with Greg's scientific knowledge. They offered their respect and promises to protect the lake, to mend the damage that had been done. As they completed the ritual, the storm's epicenter glowed with a brilliant light, and the lake's consciousness seemed to sigh with relief. The storm dissipated, leaving behind a calm and peaceful night. Nina and Greg, their differences set aside, looked out at the lake. They had bridged the gap between science and spirituality, and in doing so, they had understood and appeased an ancient force of nature. The lake, once filled with anguish, now sparkled with a renewed vitality. Its spirit had been healed, and the wrath of the storm had been quelled. The anguish of the lake had taught them the importance of understanding and respecting the natural world, the clash between science and spirituality, and the power of human actions to either harm or heal the ancient forces that govern the land. Night fishing. The tranquil waters of the lake shimmered in the moonlight, a serene expanse that seemed to stretch into eternity. Sam, an insomniac in search of solace, had found his haven on these moonlit nights, with a fishing rod in hand and the soft lapping of water against the shore as his lullaby. He sought peace beneath the stars. It was on one such night that he felt a presence, a gentle stirring in the air that sent ripples across the water. Eliza, a spectral figure with an ethereal glow, appeared before him. Her eyes held a profound sadness, yet her demeanor was gentle and inviting. "You're not alone," she whispered, her voice like a gentle breeze. "I've been waiting for someone like you." Sam's initial shock gave way to curiosity as he realized that Eliza was not like any other apparition he had heard of. She seemed to belong to the lake, as much a part of it as the water and the moonlight. Night after night, Sam returned to the lake, drawn by the enigmatic presence of Eliza. They fished together in silence, the moments punctuated by the occasional rustling of leaves and the distant calls of nocturnal creatures. As they spent more time together, Eliza began to share stories about the lake's past inhabitants, the Native American tribes that had revered it, the early settlers who had relied on its resources, and the countless souls who had sought solace by its tranquil shores. But beneath the surface of these stories, Sam sensed a deeper truth, a hidden layer of reality that transcended the boundaries of the living world. Eliza hinted at the lake's true nature, a gateway between worlds, a place where life and the afterlife intersected. As Sam listened, he became entranced by the idea of the lake as a bridge to the unknown. He felt a profound connection to Eliza, a sense that she was a guardian of this ethereal realm, and he was a visitor fortunate enough to have been invited. One night, as they fished by the moon's gentle glow, Eliza took Sam's hand and led him to the water's edge. She looked into his eyes, and her gaze held a deep, unspoken understanding. With a sense of trepidation and wonder, Sam followed her into the water. As they submerged, the world around them shifted and twisted, and Sam felt a sensation of weightlessness as they descended into the depths. The lake seemed to come alive, its waters pulsating with an otherworldly energy. In the watery depths, Sam saw glimpses of the past and the present, intertwining like threads in a tapestry. He witnessed the memories of those who had come before him, their joys and sorrows etched into the very fabric of the lake's existence. Eliza guided him further into this mysterious realm, where the boundaries between the living and the dead blurred. Sam felt an overwhelming sense of peace, as if he had finally found the solace he had been seeking for so long. But as they continued their journey, they encountered otherworldly beings, lost souls and spirits in search of redemption. Eliza explained that the lake served as a sanctuary for these wayward souls, a place of reflection and healing. As the night waned and the first light of dawn broke, Sam and Eliza returned to the surface, their journey through the lake's depths having changed them both forever. Sam had found the solace he had sought, and Eliza had shown him the beauty of the unknown. Their bond, forged through nights of fishing and exploration, had transcended the boundaries of life and death. With a silent nod of gratitude, Eliza faded into the morning mist, leaving Sam with a heart full of wonder and a newfound appreciation for the tranquil, moonlit waters of the lake. Night fishing had revealed to Sam the profound solace of solitude, the intersection of life and the afterlife, and the beauty of the unknown that existed just beneath the surface of the tranquil waters. It was a tale of peaceful horror, a journey into the mysterious heart of the lake, and a story that would stay with Sam for the rest of his day.